All right, good morning, boys and girls, and welcome to your math class. So today we are going to review the metric system. So when we were in school, we made a ruler, and we made a ruler with inches, and we labeled it like 1/4, 2/4, which was 1/2, 3/4, and then 1/2. So we did that for a ruler, and that was customary. So we're going to move on to the metric system units of measuring, which we've been doing for liquid volume and mass, but now we're going to look at if we were looking at a ruler. Okay, so I'm going to give you a couple of lessons on measurement with the metric system along with weight and mass. All right, so let's get started. This is going to be a little review, just a fun review first. All right, so we have the metric system here, and we have the metric system, and you can see here there's different ways of using the metric system. You can weigh things, you can measure liquid volume, and you can measure things using centimeters, millimeters, and meters. So we're going to use the metric system for many things. So as you can see, this is a ruler, and you can use it to measure the length of something. This would be a liquid, so you can use the metric system to measure liquid volume. And then obviously you can use it to weigh items. All of that we've talked about. So this is a short English and history lesson. So did you know you can speak Greek and Latin? Okay, so not really, but the English has many connections with those ancient languages. We use them in certain parts of when we speak. So the beginning of many of our words, like prefixes, and the ends, which are suffixes, and we've been talking about prefixes and suffixes a lot lately, are taken from the Greek and Latin language. For example, the prefix tri, so think about tricycle, triangle, is the Greek and Latin word for three, which is really cool. So there you go, three. And then another example is the suffix full, which is a Greek and Latin for full of, like careful and helpful. So those are Greek and Latin words. So taking into account that we know a little bit of Greek and Latin, well, here we go, some Greek and Latin roots for us. So think of centa or cent, and that is Latin, and it actually means something. It is a root word, and it means hundred or hundredth. And then milla, for like millimeter, it means thousand. So milla, it's a million. It's really big, okay? So that means thousand. Whereas if you look at cent, we've been talking about century, cents, how many cents in a dollar? 100. Milla is bigger. So I think of like millions. I know it doesn't mean millions, but I think about, okay, cent means 100. Milla means bigger. So I think thousand. And then kilo means 1,000 also. But milla, think of a millipede. It has 1,000 legs and small. Killa, bigger. Okay, so now our measurements, we're going to start with length. Okay, so we're going to be measuring things in length here. So the metric units that we use, that would be meters. And a meter is about the arm span of a child from here to here. So when you open up your arms, you go like this, and that's like a meter, okay? Now mine's a little bit bigger because my arms are longer than yours. So, and I think we talked about this a little bit when we said a yardstick would be if you stood up and you went from your foot to your hip, that would be a yard. And then we held our arms out and that would be a meter. It's a little bit bigger. Okay, so let me get off the screen here so you can see. So meters are about a child's arm span. So now we're going to look at what happens when I add my Greek and Latin words. Okay, so kilo, that's the first one we're going to look at. So kilometer. So we're looking at kilo. All right, think about these questions. Okay, where have you heard of kilometer? Or maybe somebody has says kilometer. Okay, how many meters? So think of how many meters are in a kilometer. Think about what kilo means. So how big of a distance is a kilometer or kilometer? So 1 kilometer is 1,000 meters because we said, and let me erase this mess right here for you. We said that kilometer means 1,000. So kilo means 1,000. So if you have kilo meaning 1,000, it means 1,000 meters. So it's big. So if you have your hands out like this, that's a meter. So then if you do this 1,000 times, put this, oops, let me get in your frame here. So like this 1,000 times, that would be a kilometer. 1 meter, 2 meters, 3 meters, 4 meters, 5 meters, and put them, stack them, line them up on the ground. If you have 1,000 meters, you have a kilometer or a kilometer. Now, a kilometer is the distance that if we took a 12-minute walk, okay, that'd be like, see, if you go like from here to here, maybe that's like 1 meter. So maybe you're walking like 1,000 meters in 12 minutes, and that's a kilometer. All right, our next word is centa. So think of cents. Okay, where have you heard the word centimeters before? Is cents big or small? Centimeter in a meter. So how many centa? So think cent. What did I tell you cent means? Centa. How big is it? So hopefully you are seeing that it has 100 centimeters because we said that cent or centa means 100 or 100th. So a centimeter is the size of your belly button, or a centimeter is also from here to here, from one side of your nail to the other, from this side of your nail to this side, which is about the size of your belly button. If you put your finger up to your belly button, that's probably about the size, okay? But this is a way easier way to think about a centimeter than your belly button. Okay, so you have 100 of your fingers, 100 of these, okay? And if you put them all together, if you put like 10, 10, 10, 10, and you had them going straight across, you would have 10, okay, of your fingers 10 times, and that would be 100, and that would be 1 meter. So there's 100 centimeters, okay, in 1 meter. Cent, century, think about it. Century, there's 100 years in a century. There's 100 cents in, oops, I think I was supposed to get on one more, maybe. Cent, oh, my next page. So there's 100 cents in a dollar. Now we're on to millimeter, milla. Okay, think of what I said milla means. All right, it was a bigger number than cent. All right, where have you heard of millimeter? So think of millimeter. How many millimeters are in a meter and how big of a distance is a millimeter? Okay, so the millimeter It's crazy. It's so small. So if you go to your fingernail, it says a millimeter is the size of 10 paper clips stacked or your fingernail clipping. I always think that's so gross. But if you look at the side, so if you take your finger, there's your centimeter. If you turn it to the side and you look at how thick your fingernail is, that's a millimeter. They're tiny, tiny, tiny. It's a really thin little mark on your ruler. All right, let me get out of your way here. So a millimeter is the size of 10 paper clips stacked or our fingernail clippings. Gross. All right, so we have, let's go down here. All right, so we know that centimeter, okay, kilometer, meter, and millimeter. So we have to move these things around to put them in the correct spot. All right, so we know this guy, his arm's length, okay, he is 1 meter right here. Okay, then we have this right here. What is that? So small, remember? It's 1,000, 1 meter. Okay, so you need 1,000. Okay, so I moved the numbers up top for you so you could see your choices here. So we have this runner right here, and we were talking about how many he would have to run. We were talking about the side of the fingernail here. We were talking about the arm span, and then we were talking about the belly button here. So we want to look at this belly button. Think to yourself, I said your belly button is like the size of from one side of your finger to the other side. And would that be a centimeter, a kilometer, which is 1,000 meters, or a millimeter? So hopefully you're seeing that this was the size of a centimeter. Okay, and we know that that is one of the 100 centimeters that you need for a meter. We said that a kilometer was kind of big. And so we want to say, okay, well, if you're doing a kilometer, you're running. Okay, so a kilometer is 1,000 meters. Okay, that's a big amount, kilometer, 1,000. All right, we're looking for something really small, milli. We said a milli, here's a centa. If you turn it to the side and look at the thickness of your nail, that's a millimeter, and that's 1/1,000th. Okay, takes 1,000 millimeters to make a meter. And then you have your guy with his arms out, and that is 1 meter. That was hard to do. You really had to think about your prefixes and what they mean. Okay, so you have a centimeter, which is this size. You have the millimeter, which is this. You have the meter, and then you have the kilometer, which is 1,000 meters, 1,000 arm lengths. Okay, fun. All right, so next we're going to work with, and let me get off your screen. So next you're going to work with volume. And we've been talking about liquid volume. So hopefully you're understanding what we're talking about. We're talking about being able to take liquid and measure it. So the metric units for use of volume are liters. A liter is the size of, here you go, here's a 2-liter bottle of a medium soda pop. We call it pop. I don't know who these people are that call it soda. Strange. Okay, so we take a 2-liter bottle and we cut it in half, and that is a liter. So that would be a smaller, okay? Let me make sure that I didn't miss something on the bottom here. All right, so then once again, let's add those Greek and Latin words. So we have over here, we have milli and kilo. So these are the prefix. So a kilo is how much is held by a tanker truck. Okay, so a kilo is 1,000. Think of kilo as 1,000 liters. So you can pour 1,000 liters in here to fill it. So kilo. But if you do a milla is like 20 drops of water. So think of your little medicine dropper that maybe you use to give your dog or cat some medicine, or if you're ever trying to feed like a baby bird, you would use a little milliliter dropper, like a medicine dropper, because you need a very small amount. So milla, it's like 20 drops of water. It's that small. So milla. Okay, remember that's 1,000 small. And then kilo would be 1,000 of the bigger. Milla is small, kilo is bigger. All right, so we have a milliliter is 1/1000th. It's just a very small part of the thousand, whereas a kilo is 1,000. It's the big parts, okay? So milla is small and kilo is big. Milla, small, kilo, big. Finally, we end with weight. So we just finished doing the metric units we use for weight are grams. And we know a gram is the weight of a safety pin or a paper clip. Remember we talked about that? Absolutely, we talked about that. They were very small. Grams are small, whereas if you go to a kilogram, all right, so we're thinking about only these two, grams and kilograms. All right, so we have our paper clip here, and it would take how many grams to make a kilogram? All right, so think about it. Hopefully you're thinking about the prefixes. It would take 1,000. You are correct. So it would be the same weight if I took 1,000 paper clips or 1,000 safety pins. It would weigh how much a pineapple weighs or how much a bat would weigh. Nicely done. All right, I think that's it for today. Yes. All right, so I hope that helped you to review the different parts of the metric system. I am now going to show you how to look at a ruler that instead of inches, quarter inches, half inches, we are going to look at millimeters, centimeters, and just so that you can see the size difference. All right, let me pull that up for you. Okay, so I wanted to show you just regular customary ruler. Okay, so I have isosceles triangle, a scalene, and an equilateral. So we've talked about geometry. So equilateral, all sides are equal. A scalene, we have that all sides are different, and an isosceles, two sides are equivalent to each other. So we are going to measure these different triangles, but I'm going to show you on a ruler, our customary, which is just inches. So we've talked about, so this is your, and let me get my pen here working so you can see. So we know that this would be the actual inch. So within the inch, we have half right here. That's the half inch mark. And then we go to the quarter inches. So we've talked about this. This would be your fourth. And then this would be 2/4, which is equivalent to 1/2. And then we go here, and this is your 3/4. And then this would be your whole inch, okay? So then this would be an inch and a fourth. This would be your inch and a half. And then this would be your inch and 3/4. And then this would be your whole inch. So this would be your first inch and your second inch. And we broke those up into quarters. So hopefully you remember that. Okay, so if you look here, this isosceles is 1 inch, 2 inch, and then it goes right here. And so if I change the color, so there's 2 1/4, 2 1/2, and 2 3/4. So it would be 2 3/4 of an inch. It is 1/4, this fourth right here. If it was that much bigger, it would be a total of 3 inches, but it's not. It's minus this one little fourth, so it's 2 whole inches. There's 1 whole inch, 2 whole inch, and then 3/4. Okay? So hopefully you can see that. Let me erase all of this. Hopefully we can get rid of all this for you. Okay, so we'll go back to our pen, maybe. We'll click on here. So we will grab this and move it off. Move this off. We'll grab our equilateral. Our equilateral, you put it directly on. Okay, and we'll look at our ruler again. So we're going to break it up. There's our 1/4, 2/4, which is equivalent to 1/2. We go to our 3/4, and we go to our 1 whole. But it's bigger than that. We have it starting directly on the 0, and it goes to 1 whole inch, but it continues on. There's 1/4, 2/4 is equivalent, 2/4 is equivalent to, hopefully you see that, 2/4 is equivalent to 1/2. So this equilateral triangle is 1 1/2 inch. Hopefully you totally remember that. We went over that a lot. So we're going to move back and we're going to look at the metric ruler because that's what we've been focused on. So hopefully you remember we were talking about equilateral, scalene, isosceles. We're going to keep using the same shapes. Now if you look at our metric ruler, you'll notice it's much different. Okay, it's based on 10, which makes it super simple. So if you look at these tiny little whiskers right here, these little whiskers right here, these little whiskers, you'll notice there's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Every 10 makes 1 whole. Now remember, these are millimeters. So if you take your finger and you look at it from one side of the fingernail to the other side, that's a centimeter. Turn your finger to the side, that's a millimeter. The width of your fingernail, that's what I'm talking about right here. These are millimeters right here. There are 10 millimeters in every centimeter. So from here to here, that is a centimeter. Okay? Every one of these whiskers is a millimeter. There are 10 millimeters equaling 1 centimeter. Okay? So that's what I wanted to show you. So if we look at the measuring of it, okay, so we can see it goes right to about there. So we're gonna do an estimate. So from here to here is 1 centimeter. Another 10 millimeters is 2 centimeters. So we're going to write 2 centimeters. And then we want to count how many millimeters. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 right there. 6. So 6 millimeters. All right, so it's almost, we could abbreviate 2.5 centimeters because right here would be the halfway mark. Okay, so I think we should write 2.5 centimeters. Okay, how cool is that? Let's get rid of all this mess that I created. Oh, look at that, not making it. We're getting there. All right, so let's get rid of our equal. Oh, there's the mail's here for Judith. She loves to greet the mailman. All right, so this is our scalene triangle. Remember, scalene means that all 3 sides are different. Okay, so let's measure it. We're going to start right here. You can see right there. There we go, and we're going to go all the way to right there. So we're going to count how many centimeters. So there's 10 millimeters, that's 1. 10 more millimeters is 2. 10 more millimeters is 3. 10 more millimeters is 4. 10 more millimeters is 5. So we have 1 centimeter, 2 centimeters, 3 centimeters, 4 centimeters, 5 centimeters. So we have 5 centimeters, and then we go 1, 2, 3. 5 centimeters and 3 millimeters. So we are going to round because it's before the halfway mark, which would be right here at 5.5. Since it's before the 5.5 mark, we're going to round it to 5 centimeters. Okay, I just wanted to show you how small millimeters are. A millimeter is the side of your fingernail. A centimeter is when you turn your finger and you can see your whole nail. That is a centimeter. So they're very much smaller than when you look at our inches. Okay, we know an inch is from a non-standard unit of measurement would be like from the tip of your thumb to your knuckle. That would be an inch. Whereas a centimeter is very small. So these are used in math and science a lot because they're smaller units of measurement. So that would be a centimeter, and the side of your fingernail, the width of it, that would be your millimeter, much smaller. All right, well, I apologize for Judith interrupting our math lesson, but I hope you have a wonderful day, and I hope this helped with some of your measurement questions. I hope you have a wonderful rest of the day. Take care.